How do I know if I can afford to hire my next employee? You are in the right place. Today we're going to look at how to prepare your business financially for this next hire and how to feel really confident going into it. I'm Dr. Alex Engar, your Profit Doc. Welcome back into the channel where today we're going to look at how do you know what you should hire for next in your business. Then we're going to look at what can you afford to pay that next hire. You might have noticed that some things are going a little bit crazy in the labor market right now. Hiring has gotten more expensive. However, if you do it right, I'm going to show you how to make sure this next hire is still incredibly profitable for the business. Finally, we're going to look at how do you protect your cash flow while you're hiring, so that you make sure that, yes, you're growing the business with this new hire, but you're also not tanking your cash as you're making this new investment. So the first thing that you need to answer is, what exactly are you hiring for right now? There's two different things you might be looking at. Number one is to buy back your time. These are usually administrative type things that are either buying back time from you or maybe even members of your team. Number two is to grow profitably. In other words, we are buying a return on an employee's investment to generate more revenue for the business. One of those two things are probably what your next hire is going to do. So now we need to decide which one is happening next and does it make sense for the business from a financial standpoint. I want to really encourage you to look at what problem am I actually solving with this hire? Am I trying to buy back my time and I know that I can go spend my time more profitably elsewhere? Do I feel like I have a delivery problem and I'm solving that? Is it a marketing problem that I'm hiring for? Is it a sales problem? Is it an administrative or financial problem? First of all, know the problem that you're solving and ask yourself, is this the next right problem to solve in my business? Or do I just feel like I need to hire and grow and I'm not sure what to do, so I'm making this hire? The more specific you can get and the more clearly you can identify what problem you're solving, the more likely you are to have this be a successful, profitable hire in your business. So now let's look at timing for just a minute. We're going to have an entire timing video for hiring on this channel. If you click subscribe right now, you'll make sure to get notified when we put that out. So let's look at what we call the 80% rule. If you remember, we've seen this capacity versus demand curve before on our channel, where we have a specific capacity in our business. Let's say, for example, that we are able to serve 100 clients at a time or 100 clients per month in the business right now. As I'm looking at the demand or how many people I have coming into the business, I might see that I hit this special spot around 80%. In this case, this would be 80 clients for easy math. That's when I should be making this next hire. We have an entire video on timing that you should check out, but I recommend that somewhere between this 75 and 85% range is where we're making the hire, because we need to have an appropriate ramp up time for that individual before they're really effective and efficient at helping us increase our capacity. So first, let's look at hiring for time. When you feel like you are time strapped, or maybe some member of your team is time strapped, and you're trying to hire someone to be able to buy back your own time, then we want to look at what is the return on that investment. It might be hard to calculate. You might be hiring an administrative position that's taking things off of your plate that might not directly generate revenue. So here's how I want you to think about this. Number one, we need to get really clear on the value of each hour of your time. So here's the easy way to think about it. I'm going to look at profit in my business each month. So what is my average profit? Divided by how many hours I work in the business per month. So calculate that right now. And that's going to give me a $1 per hour value of my time in the business. How much profit can I make? And I want to aim for a 3 to 4x ROI on any hire that I have. So let's say I calculate this out and I see that my time is worth $50 an hour. All right, so I know that I have this profit per hour, and let's say that it is $50 per hour in the business. For every hour I work, $50 of profit comes in. If I want to have a 3 to 4x ROI on that time, then let's just divide 50 by 4. And that is going to give me exactly how much I should be able to afford to pay another employee to buy back my time. So that would give me $12 an hour that I have to go buy back my time if I want a 4x ROI. If I want 3x ROI, maybe I can afford to spend a little bit more, But the point here is, if I know how much my time is worth, then I can say, great, I want a 3 to 4x ROI, and I'll go hire someone at that rate. Here's what you should hire off next. It's the things that you don't enjoy doing, that aren't the best use of your time, and that are relatively low value tasks compared to the other things that you could be doing, okay? Go make a list of your low value tasks versus your high value tasks in the business, and you'll get a real quick sense of what you could be hiring off next when you're buying back your time. There's a really great book called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell that goes deep onto this. I highly recommend it. He's got some great content around this. So next, let's check out hiring for profit. So now I've got to ask myself, first of all, is my business ready for this financially? We'll see how to calculate that here in a little bit. But second of all, how much is it actually going to cost me? Because a lot of business owners underestimate the cost of an employee, and I also underestimate the ROI. So let's look at the 3 questions that I need to ask myself for cost. The first one is wages. If I'm going to pay someone a specific dollar per hour or a flat rate per month, what is that going to be? And I prefer to calculate it per month. The second piece is payroll taxes. Now, if you're hiring 1099 employees, this might not matter, which by the way, you need to talk with either your CPA or maybe legal counsel to figure out if you can hire 1099s or if you need to hire W-2 employees. If you're hiring a W-2, then you need to plan on paying payroll taxes on top of that. You need to plan on adding at least 7.65% of their wages in here as taxes for the payroll taxes, and I usually will bump that up a little bit more, somewhere around 10% additional for taxes. And then there are just a bunch of other costs that end up stacking up per hire that you make. So some of them might be insurance cost. Maybe it's workman's comp. Maybe it is a specific software that you need to buy for that employee in order for them to, have a login every single month. Start listing by month each other expense that you have. And if it's an annual expense like insurance, divide it by 12 and throw it on here for a monthly cost. The other thing is sometimes we have upfront expenses, like maybe you're relocating someone and we need to pay them a certain amount to move from their state into yours. Maybe you have a sign-on bonus that you're going to be paying them. Maybe you have a computer or a vehicle that you need to pay for. Put all of those in here, and then we're going to get a total cost for this employee so that we can measure what our true ROI needs to be. All right, next we get to ask ourselves, what will they generate for the business? How much extra revenue will they bring in? Now, this gets to be a little bit messy if you have a product that, say, for example, is a 50% profit margin. Then we have to factor in that they're only going to bring in half of what they make for you as profit, right? That 50%. And so ultimately we want to take this number and multiply their expenses by 3 to 4x so that we can see, will they generate that much in new revenue or new profit for me as a business owner? If they are significantly under 3x ROI for you, then you might want to reconsider your pay structure for them, or if they're really worth hiring. But you might be saying, Alex, they're not going to be up to a full-time caseload yet, or they're not going to ramp up to being able to have 40 hours a week worth of work. How do I calculate it there? Well, the wages get taken care of because we're not paying them for as many hours. The taxes, same thing. These other expenses, though, might stack up. So in the early phase, they might not be as profitable. You have to decide, can I ramp them up quickly enough to get up to full caseload or full productivity so that I can bridge that time where they're a little less profitable for me? And this brings us to the last point in deciding, is it time right now, if all these numbers make sense, am I financially ready to hire? Okay, now the big question. Can I really afford to hire this person if I know that they're not going to get up to full productivity, they're not going to be making my full ROI just yet? Here's the thing. If you don't have reserves in your business, it is going to be so much harder to scale. We have lots of trainings on how to build up reserves, but my recommendation is to look at their salary and see, do you have 1 to 2 months of all of these expenses saved up in your business where you can afford to bring them on and they don't have to be productive on day one, because they're not going to be. I see it a lot like teaching your kids to tie their shoes. I use this example because I'm going through it right now as a dad. At first, it takes a lot more time for you to teach them how to tie their shoes versus just doing it for them. But then eventually they start to become better and better, and it starts saving you time. And then you're like, man, this is great. Why did I wait so long? A lot of times it's like that with hiring, especially when you're doing it for time. So we need to make sure that you have some in reserves so that you can bridge that learning gap as they're building up to being fully useful for you and the company. You know, I've seen this stuff done the right way, but I've also seen it done the wrong way. In fact, one time we had a clinician-based client come into us and say, you know, it's great, I've got this employee, every time they work, it's just pure profit. And I said, well, that's interesting, how much are they making? And as we started getting into the compensation structure, it was like a 70-30 split. The clinician was getting 70% of what they were getting paid from the clients, and the clinic was only keeping 30%. She said, it's great, I keep 30% and I don't have to do any of the work. And I said, well, wait a minute, can we calculate these other costs? What is it costing you to market and sell to get those clients? What is it costing you for your electronic medical records, your software? What is it costing you in the portion of rent for that one room that they're treating out of? And the clinic was covering all of those costs. And when we looked at it, actually they were losing money every single day that that person was working for them. And so I want you to be very clear on calculating all of these things and the true ROI of your employee so that you're not burning cash out the door every time you get a new client in the door. All right, so if you want to go deeper on this and you want to make sure that all the numbers line up for you as you're hiring your next employee, we have a really cool tool that I've prepared for you. It's our hiring calculator, and it takes all of these numbers we've talked through and gives you an easy way to plug them into a calculator to see what you can afford. We've also included our entire hiring workshop that if you click the link below, we'll send both of those over to you so that you can feel confident as you make your next hire. Thank you so much for watching the channel today. We're so grateful to have you here. We'll see you in the next video.